We're a group of Gen Xers learning about our ADHD and neurodiversity later in life. Join us as we discuss interesting clips we find online and how they relate to our own life experiences. Welcome to This Is How My Brain Works.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Is How My Brain Works with me, Sarah, sharing my clip today. You guys ready? Or should we just jump right in?
I love it.
We should jump right in.
Very exciting. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. So I actually kind of went out on a slightly different limb, which is the autism limb. And when I heard this video, I was like, oh crap, maybe I'm not ADHD. This is the beauty of self-diagnosis. It can change on a dime. Perhaps I'm actually autistic. It's a spectrum. We're all on one of them or all of them. So without further ado, I quite like how, I don't know how to say her name, but I'm going to guess Morgan Foley talks about autism and friendship.
A serious struggle for me as an autistic person, and I just learned that the reason why is because neurotypical friendships require constant communication. Like that's a core part of friendship, and I don't do that. I was under the assumption that if we become friends, then we're just always going to be friends. I don't regularly communicate with anyone other than my boyfriend and my mother. And I think it just comes down to the fact that my autistic brain values different things in friendship. I value the fact that I understand you and you understand me way more than if we're constantly communicating. I don't want to be constantly communicating. That's exhausting. I want you to not talk to me and I want to not talk to you. And then if you have a problem, I want you to tell me the problem. We can chat about it. And if you have something exciting going on in your life, I want you to tell me about it and vice versa. But I don't want constant communication. And it's starting to make sense why friendships have fallen over the years, because people probably thought that I didn't like them because I wasn't talking to them. But I was under the assumption that we were just always going to be friends.
I see some nodding from Miss Krista.
Yeah, I saw another one today that was going to be one I brought in if it had been my turn, and it was similar, different. I think a different person. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. Where she was saying one of the things about when you're on the spectrum and neurotypicals and friendship is that neurotypicals want to do the small talk, like that's like and that when you're on spectrum, that small talk feels super laborious and silly and stupid and masking, and that you're like super ready to be like. And that's why I think a lot of us will do the inappropriate, like
Overshare?
Yeah, like the inappropriate overshare, because or the like how's your scrotum? Like whatever, like we will do like the thing that we're probably not supposed to do because like the other stuff just feels like it's
fake.
It's unnecessary and it's fake. And it's why when I write emails and I write out my emails, I have to go in and add the nonsense, the the stuff that because I recognize it matters to other people. So I write my email and then it's sort of I go back and go like, I hope you had a great weekend, like all of the stuff that others value, and I so I get it. Like I'm there's no judgment, but it's hard. That's not where my brain works, and I absolutely have that. Like time blindness, I sort of feel like we're friends. If we didn't talk for 3 years, you're friends. Like, like, and I probably have. I've actually thought about that the other day about how I have such a fluid idea of friendship, whether you're in someone's life a lot right now or they're not or whatever. Like I just have a very fluid sense of that. And I'm sure it's been very frustrating and sad for others.
What do you mean by fluid, though? I'm curious to hear.
I've always thought. I've always.
That's like my roommate.
No, I mean in specific.
You know what I mean? Like fluidity is very.
Yeah, no.
Well, he's my roommate.
No, not like that. I mean, in the sense that I've always said, the way I've always said is like I'm very present. If we're together, it'll feel like if we're together having dinner or something like that, it'll feel like no time has passed. We're the closest of friends or whatever. But then it might be a year of us not speaking at all. And I don't sit around and go like, oh, we must not be friends anymore. I just sort of, I don't know. I just sort of feel like if you're in my life in the moment, it's because one of us needed that for whatever reason. And then when you're not in my life, it doesn't mean we hate each other or don't like each other. It just means we're doing our life. And I don't notice, for lack of a better word, I don't notice it. And I know that sounds really bad, but I don't notice as much as I think others do. And these people who have these lives where they're like talking to their families like 5 times a day, and that they're having they're with each other all the time. Like, it's just like, I'm like,
Well,
I don't.
what's interesting is that I like the idea of like just superfluous conversation or meaningless conversation, or the patter. Let's just get to what we're getting. Let's get to what we need to get to here. Why are we all here? I can see how that would be like an irritant, or you start feeling yourself going like, oh my God, am I losing my mind here? Like, are we gonna, like, how long does this have to go on for before everyone's ready to just move forward to the task at hand? Because this is what we're supposed to do. I can see how that would just be like crazy making. But then but I also thought about like things like people pleasing, where, and codependency, like Krista, when you're talking about like families checking in all the time, it's like there are all these other things that kind of swirl around and that can impact relationship and dynamic. And so it can get kind of complex, but like back to this thing at its very simplest nature, how she talked about like, just, I don't want to talk about the weather. Like, what are we here to do? And if you're my friend, you're my friend. We don't need to check in. I don't need, you don't, are you someone who needs validation all the time? Well, that's another thing, right? But and then part of me was like, gosh, that must be kind of refreshing, or to like not have to worry about, well, I wonder why they haven't called me, or I wonder why we haven't talked, or, that worry isn't there. And it's all the stuff that we conjure in our own minds. Whereas it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like in the autistic brain, it's just like, it's more of a matter of fact thing. There's this more of that emotional component.
Or you don't notice.
Okay.
I
You
wouldn't
don't
say
notice.
this is all autistic brains,
No.
but what I would say for me, how this, like, what it feels like on my side is I'm aware of what's in front of me. If it's not in front of me, guess what? I'm kind of not aware of it. And it's so, to put it a different way, if I'm scrolling on Facebook and I see my 4 best friends in Cabo San Lucas and I'm not there and I didn't know they went, my autistic brain doesn't save me from, oh, well, we're still friends. It's more that like, that's now in front of me. And I'm like, wait, why am I? And then I might fixate on that. But with respect to kind of my friends, I might not remember to call or reach out or do the like social things, but it isn't because it's not an intentional, I don't want to be doing this anymore.
Or I don't love them, or I don't this. Like, I don't think I don't check in with my mother probably as much as I should or could, or she would like me to. And I mean, she checks in with me, so it's fine. But it's not because I don't love my mom. I don't think about my mom. It's not about that. It literally doesn't always occur to me because I'm fixated on the thing that's in front of me. And if she's not in front of me,
I see.
It's a blind spot. It's like time blindness. And
Yeah.
and it's and I know it can be hurtful to others, but I don't know really how to fix that other than all the other things. But the thing that's really interesting is like I've been reading around the ADHD thing about body doubling, right? And so you have my husband who wants to body double all the time.
Me
And then
too.
you have me, and I'm literally like,
Wait, explain.
body doubling. my husband wants me to clean everything that is on my husband's task list. He would like me to be physically doing it either with him or beside, or just doing something beside him, so that there's entire accounts on TikTok and everything that are called body doubling accounts. And it's people with ADHD who are like cleaning their house or whatever. And they're like, come body double with me. And you could turn on your phone and have somebody to do those things with, so that you're actually will do the things.
I'm kind of
And
surprised.
my TV on sometimes. Like I'll put my TV on the news channel.
I always have stuff on for sure.
Well, that I can understand a little bit more than the body doubling. I can see as far as like an accountability partner, but for
it's
me
just having company. It's having company that keeps you.
But you're not doing the same thing, because
you can be.
Well, for me, like it's almost impossible for me to delegate something like, hey, let's work on this project together. Here, you do this part, you do that. Because I'm always trying to figure out what I'm doing in the moment. So I don't know how to delegate. I don't know how to body double that thing. And in fact, body doubling might be a little overwhelming in that point. It's like, I'm just going to figure this out because I'm just in my own way.
No,
but
I think.
but body.
Let me time out both of you. The body doubling, I suspect, has to do with energy and the way that, for example, as someone, this gets back to my Wi-Fi angels theory, but another example is I have an ancestor who was hit by lightning, not by local lore 3 times, maybe, but definitely twice by record. And he was ADHD. There's been where people with our brain pattern throw off electronics, your printer stops working when you're upset, all of this stuff. The thing about body doubling, you don't necessarily even do the same thing with the person.
Oh.
In fact, mostly you don't. I can manage to do that, but it's having someone next to you. It's not about accountability either. It's just having another energy in the room, keeping you from laying down in the fetal position, for example.
Maybe it's a grounding thing. Maybe
it has 1,000. It has 1,000 ways it manifests.
Okay.
And it sounds like from Krista's husband, for him, it's a little different. But I had a friend who I'm sure now, in retrospect, was ADHD. She was an only child, and every chore she had to do, she would call and invite a friend over to do it with her. I have to go to Kinko's to do this. I have to clean my bedroom. I have always had someone with her. And they could just be sitting like on their phone next to her, not doing anything.
I do not have that kind of time, but you know what? Maybe I should start a new business. Maybe someone would pay me to body double, because I like every single time someone's like, just come sit with me. I'm like, what type of life do you think I live? Time to be your energetic fulcrum. Like I don't.
That's a great word. That's what it is. It's an energetic fulcrum. Yes.
Rudy,
and I turn the TV on because I'm not stupid enough to think anybody wants to sit and has the time to sit with me through all my stuff. But I want that person. I would hire you, Krista.
I don't think a body double is like a helper, like an elf. Like, I need to do the lawn, I'm going to call in a body double to kind of, I think it's just someone to be there, like Krista was saying, an accountability human being that you're like,
no, it's just
it's like going to the gym with someone who's not going to work out with you, but just stand there and make sure you almost work out, so you feel like, okay,
they're going to talk to you when you're bored. It's the moment that like when your energy flags, they might just chat with you. It's like a blanket, like Linus's blanket.
Well, so a blanket being like grounding, right? It's like that grounding partner, because in ADHD we can live up in our heads, and then we are just like,
yes,
the kite just goes out, and with that person there's 1 foot in grounding, maybe, where you're staying on track somehow.
Doesn't work for Jason, apparently.
I don't want any part. I don't want any body double sitting around. It's already a distraction. It's already a distraction. And then here's the thing. All the things are going around in your head, just kind of things you're thinking about. My situation in this body doubling situation is I kind of see myself in the kitchen, and then bringing someone else as I'm like, I don't know, cleaning cupboards out, and they're just sitting there. It's like, there's so much going on in my head. I can't now start to try and figure out a conversation with you. Now I'm starting to think of like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Meanwhile, I'm thinking, where am I going to put this? It's like way too much. Yeah. No.
I still want a front row to that 1-man show or 2-man show. That'll
Too
be
many
fun.
variables.
To take it even one step further, though, that what I get frustrated about is like the house could be a mess and no one will do anything until I start to clean. And then when I start to clean, all of a sudden, everybody's starting to clean, which seems great, except I am like, I was really trying to do a single activity, just me, guys. You all don't need to be involved in this. But because all of my neurodivergent family wants to have body doubles to get anything done, it's like I'm a beacon. Now it's time to clean, and everybody comes, and then it becomes chaos. Or if I do go body double my husband, and I actually do it, he seems cool about it, and then we're fighting like 15 minutes in because he's doing something that I think is crazy, and I don't want to do it that way. So I'm just sort of like,
Yeah. Rudy, so you are like out on the body doubling thing. What, like, going back to this this idea of small talk or getting to the matter at hand. What, like, is there a place where you're more comfortable in that type of in communication?
I'm such a poor communicator. I'm a poor communicator. But you know what's interesting about the friendship thing is what I was thinking is, if you consider someone a friend and you haven't spoken with them after 4 or 5 years, if they're a real friend or you consider them a friend, you're not gonna like, hey, the small talk, you're going right to the heart of the matter. How you been? What's going on? How's your family? How's your mom? I don't know. You're kind of bypassing. And I've always felt, I mean, I think, I don't know, just growing up, we had a lot of friends. I feel like we talked about like you'd run around in your neighborhood, but I accrued a lot of friends just by being in the neighborhood and being out and just like living life on the streets. And I consider a lot of those people friends. Like people I haven't seen since elementary school, I consider a friend. I consider a friend. I don't know where the line is drawn, but I consider him a friend. And I feel in my heart and in my soul that they kind of feel the same way for whatever reason. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Do you find that you have relationships growing up where you consider that person a friend, like, but you haven't seen them, maybe a cousin that you hung out with for like a 4-year span, like a first cousin, and then never saw him or really haven't talked to him for a long time, but you shared something. I don't know. You shared
so here's
something.
the question.
Maybe you only shared 4th grade. Maybe you just shared 4th grade. I don't know.
Here's the question for everybody. Because I know the answer for me. When you go to a party, are you the person who likes the beginning of the party or the end of the party?
That's easy.
What is it? Tell me.
It's the end.
Okay. Michael.
And I'll tell you why afterwards. Go ahead, Sarah. End or beginning?
Michael,
End or beginning?
The beginning is hard for me because I have that social anxiety piece. I don't know what to start saying. Like the small talk is harder for me. Not that I don't mind, not that I mind doing it, but it's just like conjuring this stuff. Maybe I have some autism. Conjuring that stuff just is hard for me. Like that's why I was dependent on alcohol for so long. Like, as the social lubricant. It's like, before we start, let me go pound a beer, and then I can kind of relax, and then I can start talking rather than all this pressure to come up with something to say. So the beginning of it always seemed a little hard. And then I never left parties because of my people pleaser stuff. It's like, oh, I don't want to leave the party because then the host will feel bad, or like I don't want to hurt someone's feelings by leaving the party or something like that.
But then you're also fully lubricated.
Fully lubricated, yes, and then a whole other. And then
I just wanted to say lubricated again. I mean,
and then what I've done to
the
myself
words
is
that
that
have been on this show today. Go ahead. Sorry.
Scrotum.
Scrotum. You said powdered milk earlier. I consider that a very awkward and weird, especially it was like, you know what? Like that's your epitome. Like that's the international sign of like the lowest, like powdered milk is as low.
Food insecurity, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, many good words.
Sarah, you're not getting out of it.
Okay, so honestly, this is hard to answer because 2 things butt up against it. One, to Michael's point, that awkward feeling. So and then also my circadian rhythm. Like I get tired at night. So I get to parties at the very beginning so that I can be the first person there, so that as people come in, I can then gently get acclimated to them. But I actually like the end of the party better, to your point, because at that point, even without drinking, you're warmed up and you're happier. And I will stay to the very end of a party if it's a good party. So I like the whole party if it's working, and no party if it's not.
Oh man, I maybe I just liked it when everybody, because I don't drink, so maybe I liked it when everybody else was lubricated, but I wasn't. No, I don't know.
Oh,
But for
interesting.
me,
Yeah.
it's the end of the party. I mean, I used to go to parties late and just be like, I just want to be there to help everybody clean up, because that's when people were real and they were,
Oh.
and they could talk about the deeper
Oh.
things.
Well, the
And
superficial stuff's all out of the way.
yeah,
Which
exactly. And
is
no one even
exactly,
noticed if I was there or not.
yeah, all the pleasantries are done, and
Yeah,
which is something that I feel like the video she didn't enjoy, and you're kind of saying that too, Krista. Like, what's the point?
that's a
Yeah.
waste of time.
I don't know if it's a waste of time, but because others like it. You know, I'm always in, I remember that time when I was I was facilitating a training, and there was definitely, it was an accounting department of a big company, and one of them was saying, I just don't understand after the weekend why choose the boss, why I need to look at everybody and go like, how was your weekend? Because I don't care. You don't really want to tell me. Why do I have to do it? And that's where she was coming from. And then one of her people raised her hand and said, but I care. And it makes me feel safer and better at work. And
That's
so
what you,
then her boss was able to say, okay, fine, then I'll do it. You know, but I think about that all the time. It's like, just because it's something that is hard for me doesn't mean it doesn't matter to someone else.
that's the
Yes.
emergenetics, where everybody has the different color, or those personality profiles where you're like, this person
Yeah.
enjoys, like you say, it is like the security and stability thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
I need to know someone kind of cares about these things before I'm going to commit to
Yeah.
doing this work together or something, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I guess my take on it is that like it feels formulaic, and there's a way to get to that safety and the information that isn't formulaic and isn't just because like the way that, so yeah, I totally hear that that makes someone feel safe and comfortable. For me, it feels so fake when a boss would, if a boss that I know doesn't care asks that it almost makes me feel less safe. But what I found that kind of works for me is, anybody have anything they want to share? Did something remarkable happen to you this weekend? And the remarkable can be good or bad, or, like I don't know. I just,
There
the
could there could
formulaic,
also be it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So like you can kind of pick up on if someone's being disingenuine, you can, oh, they're just asking this question just to ask it, and then that can be an irritant. But if someone's like, okay, I'm gonna actually be present here and be curious, and then that I think people can pick up on that and feel supported or heard.
I think that's exactly right, Michael, the being curious. And like, it's almost a blessing that we are talking more about. I mean, obviously it's a blessing we're talking more about neurodivergence and the typical versus atypical, but it allows us all to kind of get through faster. Like, so that you're still doing what would be called small talk or fits the bill for small talk, but it's in an authentic way.
Well, it's interesting. I just did a training last week, and we were talking about empathetic communication, and one of them was saying, I just don't see why I just can't go in there and just get to the heart of the matter all the time. Now, for her, the heart of the matter was, I want to tell you what I don't like about you and what you're doing, and the opposite I don't like. And and I was like, well, how's it working? Like, how's it working? And she said, well, no one listens to me. And I was like, well, I think, so that's, so I do think that there's a place where you have to, as much as I'd love to just walk up to people and be like, here's what I feel like should be happening right now that you're not doing, because I just want to be direct and say it and get it out of the way. Being super direct, it is not, does not necessarily lend for deeper communications, or deeper connection. Just because we think we can go ask something about, I'm going to say it again, someone's scrotum right away, doesn't make it that it's an actual connected communication. Like, it's like, we have to recognize that other people need other things in order to feel connected and able to open up and everything. So we still have to, I heard someone saying like, I don't want to ever want a mask because it's just not who I am as an autistic person. And it's like, well, I feel like sometimes we have to mask because of our goal is to be close with others. It's the gift you have to give to someone else to be able to be in relationship with you.
And we're
as a people pleaser, I am one of the least direct people, and to a fault. When you need to be direct, I can't be direct. Why? Because my brain is like this, thinking of all the I don't want to make them feel bad if I say it this way, and if I present it this way, I don't want to make sure. So like that's constantly revolving, and so it's never like I don't want to. Should I just come out and say it, or how should I say it? What's the intonation? And should I keep my voice down, or I shouldn't? All those things surrounding how in difficult situations, I should say, it's very difficult for me to be direct. I'm just not, I'm not, and it's fear. It's all fear based. That's the same thing with going to a party, whether you like the beginning or the end. The beginning is, it's the I don't know if it's fear exactly. It's a level of fear, like anticipating what's going to go on, what's going to happen, who's going to be there, all that stuff.
The fear. So you have these. I'm kind of learning. I think I've mentioned the internal family system, how you have the different parts of yourself, and then you have these protectors, and so it's like this protector is not allowing you to just say what you feel because maybe that idea will be rejected, or maybe that person won't like you, or whatever these things are. So the protectors are like, oh, let's be careful here because
and let's be clear, Michael. It's not like the person on the autistic side doesn't have the protectors. It's just usually ours are after. It's the perseverating after, like, what did I say? Did that hurt? What did I say? Did that hurt someone? That just flew out of my mouth. I don't believe I said that. Oh my gosh. Now
that happens
for 3 weeks about that thing that I just did it. I said something at dinner the other night. I will be running through that moment in my mind in front of someone who I really wanted to not impress. It's not that, but I think a lot of him. And I said something that it was direct and deep, but he doesn't know me as well as that. And I'm going to think about that moment probably for the next 6 months over and over and over again.
Right, but here's my question.
Can give it up.
Did he recognize you said something, or you felt like you said something and you're like, oh my God, but he said nothing, right? So now it's the worry of did he take it that way or did he not? To me, it's like, yes, exactly. I know that.
So the time is spent. The time is spent, and now we have about 5 minutes left. I just want to let everybody know, but the time is spent either way. I think in terms of the mind games that we're playing with ourselves, for sure.
So how do we get to with the 5 minutes left, how do we get to that place of acceptance of ourselves and others? And I liked, Krista, what you said about balancing our mask with our to comfort, to make others feel safe, with our own need to be authentic and feel safe.
Yeah, I think right now with some of the the younger generations coming up, I think there's sort of this feeling, or at least I feel it, of like I should just be able to be who I am authentically myself at all times 100% of the time. And I'm just like, but I think that, in fact, I just saw a TikTok of some person going like, all you old people, I hate it when you do this and you need to stop. And I was thinking to myself, well, wait a second, that's not the answer either.
It's literally the same thing. You policing how I react is the same as me policing how you react.
So I think it's understanding that there's always a balance. There's always going to be a balance. I don't care if you're neurodivergent or not, about whether you're masking to some sense based on the desired outcome you have for that situation or that relationship.
I think, yeah. And that, I mean, what you said, Krista, about as far as things happening after the fact, and then what that must do as far as the regret, because we have shame. The shame is kind of in there, and that inhibits us from trusting our like authentic self, trusting ourselves to, or allowing ourselves rather to be vulnerable. Because
Especially we've been told we were weird our whole lives.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Or too
So
much.
being vulnerable equals
Or not
this
enough.
judgment, and you're like, F that. So I think like the masks, I think the goal is to have the self-awareness of your authentic self, your wise self, and then understand what's coming in, what reactions are coming from a place of fear and insecurity, and then asking that part of you to say, like, I understand you're trying to protect me here. Thank you, but I got this. And then just have that courage to be in that vulnerable spot. And which is hard. It's hard to do.
Though, one last thing, aside from scrotum, is that
4. That's what's
as we
4.
get older and become comfortable with ourselves, like as I get older, I'm way more direct than I ever was. Like,
Sure.
I'm just like, F it, right? I'm just going to say it. And I don't really care how it comes out because that's what it is. And that's, as you get older, it's like, you know what, like the same thing we talked about driving. Like, I don't care if people are speeding anymore. I don't care. It doesn't bother me like it did like 10 years ago where I was like, I'd lose it. Like, I wish there was a cop around. I should follow that guy. Now I'm like, I don't even care what you're doing. I don't even care. And
Right,
it's
Sarah.
like trying to quiet your brain and just like, don't worry about that stuff. Just say it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Leave that stuff behind, because fear is a great roadblock for a lot of different things. And it's unnecessary because you don't know what you're getting into. You have there should be no preconceived notions, whether it's going to a party, whether it's getting into a conversation, just let it go. I mean, it's easy to say sitting in your, home right now, but you get in those situations. And as we get older, I think we just become more comfortable with ourselves and we're like, we don't even care anymore.
Sarah, bring us home.
Sarah, take it on home.
Oh God. What was I gonna? I was gonna say
Give us a
something.
wrap.
No, not taking us home. But
We gotta wrap
Don't
it.
start. No, you can't
This has
start
to be a
something new,
wrapping.
Sarah.
you're gonna like this. You're
It's not a
okay
yes,
with, you're gonna be okay with this. Back it up.
Impulsivity.
Beep, 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 back it up.
I'm so scared.
Sarah's talent.
A direct question for Jason Rudofsky. What's going on your face, man? Do you still
What?
have the fringe tickler?
Got the-
set up
This?
here? Yeah. No,
I
no,
got all kinds
no,
of
no,
stuff.
no, but you have an
You
AI
got
face
the mustache AI
to
thing.
your Zoom room. So you're
Yeah.
sort of like Three Musketeersing us. I don't know, maybe something else that I could say when we're off air.
French tickler.
But anywho, and on that note, I'm ADHD.
Well,
and
you know what? That'll go together with powdered milk, lubricant, scrotum, and French tickler. What a show.
You
French.
did bring us home, Sarah. Well done.
Hey now,
Goodness.
French tickler.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
If you like this episode of This Is How My Brain Works, please like, subscribe, and share. For more info on today's clip, the hosts, and our podcast, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening.